You have been sent the Reco Information Guide. The Real Estate Council of Ontario is the governing body of Ontario Realtors. It is mandatory for Ontario registrants to provide this guide to a consumer who has reached out for real estate information prior to a realtor providing advice, guidance, or expertise. This guide covers all aspects of buying, selling, or leasing real estate in Ontario. This video has been prepared to provide you with an explanation of the mandatory Reco Information Guide. You are encouraged to reach out to your realtor with any questions, or if further clarification is required. On December 1st, 2023, the Trust in Real Estate Service Act, known as TRESA, came into effect with the intention of providing higher protection and transparency for Ontario consumers. Whether you are a buyer or a seller, a landlord or tenant, or simply exploring your options, this video will help you understand the importance of working with a real estate agent and the various aspects of real estate transactions you may be involved in. All real estate agents must have completed the necessary education, carry consumer deposit and professional liability insurance, and be registered with the Real Estate Council of Ontario. Real estate agents provide valuable information, advice, and guidance to their clients as they navigate the complexities involved in a real estate transaction. If you are a seller, an agent can advise you on market conditions and the best strategy to attract buyers and get the best price, market or advertise your home, provide referrals to other professionals you'll need, arrange and attend home inspections and appraisals, arrange showings for interested buyers, advise how to handle competing offers, sharing the content of competing offers and other aspects of the transaction, pre-qualify buyers, vet offers, and negotiate with buyers to achieve the best results, and guide you through the paperwork to a successful closing. If you are a buyer, an agent can assist you with getting pre-approvals for financing, gather and share information about neighborhoods and homes that meet your requirements, and arrange to show you properties. They can make inquiries about zoning, permitted property use, or other aspects of the home, advise you on the best approach in competing offer situations, and negotiate with sellers to achieve the best results. Guide you through paperwork towards a successful closing. They can also provide referrals to other professionals you'll need, such as home inspectors, lawyers, or contractors. You will also benefit from the duties owed to you as a client, such as undivided loyalty, where your best interests are promoted and protected by the brokerage or agent representing you. Full disclosure, where your agent or brokerage acting on your behalf must tell you everything they know about the transaction that could have an impact on any decisions you make. Your confidential information cannot be shared with anyone outside of the brokerage without your written consent, except where required by law, even after your client relationship ends. Your realtor will avoid conflicts of interest and any situation that would affect their duty to act in your best interests. If a conflict arises, they must disclose it to you and cannot provide any additional services to you unless you agree in writing to continue receiving services. You, as a client, need to be clear about what you want and don't want, and make sure you share all information that might be relevant to you and could impact your decisions. You will need to communicate openly with your agent and understand the terms of your agreement with the brokerage, including paying the fees you have agreed to. Now that we have covered the benefits of working with a realtor, let's look at the options and risks of representing yourself. If you are involved in a real estate transaction and are not a client of a real estate brokerage, you are considered a self-represented party. This means that you have chosen to represent yourself. Very few buyers or sellers make this choice. There are significant risks to representing yourself in a real estate transaction if you do not have the knowledge and expertise required to navigate the transaction on your own. You will be dealing with a seller or buyer who is benefiting from the services and advice of an experienced real estate agent. Reco recommends that you seek independent professional advice before you proceed as a self-represented party. If you choose not to work with a real estate agent, it will be your responsibility to make inquiries about zoning, permitted property use, or any other aspect of the property. Determine what you believe to be the value of the property you are buying or selling. Determine how much you are willing to offer or accept. Navigate competing offer situations. Decide what terms you want to include in an offer or agreement of purchase and sale, and the preparation of all documents. It's important to know that the agent has a legal obligation to act in the best interests of the person on the other side of the transaction, their client. The agent is obligated to share anything you tell them with their client. It is important to know the agent cannot provide you with any services, opinions, or advice. Do anything that would have you rely on their knowledge, skill, or judgment, or encourage you to represent yourself, or discourage you from working with another real estate agent or brokerage. Any assistance the agent offers you will be a service to their client, not you, be in the best interests of their client, and is to help their client sell or buy a property. Should you choose to represent yourself, the agent must give you Reco's information and disclosure to self-represented party form and walk you through it before they can provide you any assistance that might be a service to their client. You will be asked to confirm you received it and understand what it means to be a self-represented party. If you're concerned about completing a transaction on your own, or you need advice from a real estate agent, you can choose to become a client of a real estate brokerage at any point during the transaction. When signing a contract with a real estate brokerage, it is important to note there are two kinds of representation agreements in Ontario. One is brokerage representation, where the brokerage and all its agents represent you and must promote and protect your best interests, but one of the brokerage's agents may be your primary contact. The other is designated representation, where one or more of the brokerage's real estate agents is your designated representative. The agent represents you and must promote and protect your best interests. The brokerage and its other agents are required to treat you impartially and objectively. Designated representation reduces the likelihood of multiple representations. Designated representation is the form that our brokerage has opted for. When you become a client, you will sign a representation agreement with the brokerage. Representation agreements can be called buyer or seller representation agreements and must be in writing. Your representation agreement should describe the duties owed to you, the services you will receive, your rights and responsibilities, what you will pay, and specific terms of the agreement, including how long the agreement will last and whether you can cancel it. The name of your designated representative or representatives will be included. Your agreement should specify the scope of the engagement. If you are a seller, this means the agreement will identify the specific property. If you are a buyer, you should consider the scope of the agreement carefully. Your agreement might identify a specific property or a geographic area you are searching in. The agreement must clearly set out the services you will receive. Brokerages offer a variety of service options. You choose the services that best meet your needs. You and the brokerage decide the amount you will pay for services. The amount is not fixed or approved by Reco or any real estate association or real estate board. Agreements must also identify circumstances in which the amounts agreed to might change and how they will change in each circumstance. If you are a seller, your agreement needs to clearly indicate the amount you agree to pay your brokerage for the services and representation you receive, the amount you agree to pay, if any, to compensate the buyer for their brokerage fees, and how the amounts you agree to pay might change if you consent to multiple representation. If you are a buyer, your agreement needs to clearly outline the amount you agree to pay your brokerage for the services and representation you receive, all circumstances, if any, where the agreement can be terminated. There is no set time or standard term for a representation agreement, but the expiry date must appear prominently. Most representation agreements include a holdover clause, which may require you to pay the brokerage fees for a purchase or sale, even after your representation agreement expires. It is important for you to understand the difference between multiple representation in brokerage representation and multiple representation in designated representation. In brokerage representation, multiple representation exists when the brokerage represents both the buyer and seller in the same transaction, or two or more competing buyers, even when the clients are working with different real estate agents. In designated representation, multiple representation exists when the same real estate agent is the designated representative for both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction, or for two or more competing buyers in the same property. Multiple representation is not permitted unless each of the clients involved agrees. You should seek independent professional advice before proceeding. If you agree to multiple representation, the brokerage or designated representative must treat each of the clients involved in an objective and impartial manner. The brokerage is required to provide you with a written disclosure that explains how the brokerage's duties or the designated representative's duties to you will change, along with the differences in the services you will receive, and if there is any change to the amount you pay the brokerage. Until this information is disclosed in writing to all clients in the transaction, and they all agree in writing, the brokerage or designated representative cannot take any further steps on behalf of any of the clients. You can refuse multiple representation, and if this is the case, the brokerage or your designated representative is not allowed to proceed. Ask the brokerage or real estate agent about alternatives to multiple representation. What about sharing the content of offers? Buyers in Ontario who have made an offer on a property are entitled to know the number of competing offers if there are multiple offers. Sellers choose how much other information, if any, they want to share about the offers they receive. If you are a seller, you decide how much information you want to share about the competing offers. You need to provide clear written direction to your agent before the content of any offers can be shared. Personal or identifying information contained in offers cannot be shared. If you are a buyer, you can decide whether you want to participate in a process where the content of your offer might be shared with other buyers. Your agent can tell you the steps to take to possibly avoid having the content of your offer shared. Be aware that the seller can make the decision to share the content of offers at any time. How to make a complaint. If you have a concern, contact your brokerage first. In many cases, your brokerage will be able to mediate or resolve your complaint about a real estate agent or the services provided under your representation agreement. To file a complaint with Reco about a brokerage or real estate agent, visit the Reco website. The website explains the complaints process. Reco will review the issue, determine if it has the authority to deal with it, and what next steps, if any, it will take. The Real Estate Council of Ontario and the Trust in Real Estate Services Act information is found in the Reco information guide sent to you by your realtor. The final page of the guide is simply for you to acknowledge receipt of the guide and return that page to your realtor. Thank you for taking the time to watch this explanatory video of the mandatory Reco information guide.